Dungeons and Dragons can fix your mental health, or at the very least, it can greatly improve it. We all know D&D and tabletop RPGs are fun, social, and energizing games to play, but I've spent the past few months working on this secret project. I've been diving into obscure research papers and articles to uncover the proven psychological benefits that are hard-coded into the hobby's DNA. And I've come to a mind-blowing realization that I reveal to you at the end of this video, so stick around. Welcome creators, I am Holistic Dungeon Master, and I help DMs master their craft. If you're enjoying my content so far, then like the video, crit the subscribe button and notification bell because it really helps out the channel. Now let's get rolling! It landed in the folds of my sleeve. You never know what's gonna happen. Let's get rolling. I used to be an absolute mess. I still kinda am, but I've come a long way. Let me explain what I mean though. Here's me, but like 5 years ago in the past. I couldn't look people in the eye. I couldn't hold a conversation with anyone who wasn't an extremely close friend. I had just lost a long-term relationship. Best thing that ever happened to me because I had massive depression. It's all good, we're back together, we figured it out. I had even less money than I do now. I was also just a massive pushover who never had the grit to speak my mind or stand up to anyone. I coped with all of those issues with substance abuse. But the worst part of all that dwarfs anything else on this list of shame was that I had no confidence or belief that I could be anything other than a directionless loser. But then I found Dungeons and Dragons. Some of you already know this, but I learned how to DM before I ever got to play the game. It took a whole year of me running D&D before I ever got to play. DMing is hard. It requires a lot of gumption and courage to run encounters, write stories, and put on silly voices while playing other, ridiculous at times characters in front of other people. Even if they're your friends, it requires some courage, some backbone. So you can just about imagine me back then, riddled with social anxiety, a severe lack of self-esteem, and uncomfortable in my own skin, trying to do all of this for my friends, one of whom had DM'd before quite a bit. Pretty intimidated. I was breaking it, let's just call it what it is, but if I hadn't dared to take the plunge despite all of this, I would still be the same meek, weak, and deeply unhappy individual. But I did take that plunge, and I am no longer meek, no longer weak, and I'm significantly happier than I was back then, than I ever was, actually. That's because D&D has a hidden power. Hidden benefits that aren't just the enjoyments of smashing monsters with your friends. D&D can heal you. It healed me, or at least it jump-started the process. Its many benefits have reached into almost every area of my life and lifted them up higher than I could have ever imagined back when I had no hope. And I've been curious about that recently, so I started to look into the literature. Yes, the literature, oh man. I couldn't be the only one who noticed that D&D could change people for the better, and I'm not. I've read so many different studies that suggest that the things that happen at the D&D table have just huge, outsized positive impacts on the mental health of the people who play it, you and me. I decided that I need to make a video on this. I need to draw attention and raise awareness because it's clear that D&D is not only a wonderful hobby, creative outlet, craft, and form of entertainment, it's also a tool that can be used to change people's lives. But there's a problem. Not enough people know about this. There's a ton of research out there on it for sure, but not nearly as much as there could be. And the only way people are gonna start paying people to research this is if more people know about it. At current, it seems like there's not enough out there to be conclusive about how to best implement it. But we can start looking at what there is for answers to these questions. Massive disclaimer. I am not a licensed therapist or mental health professional of any kind. I'm just some guy you're watching on YouTube who has done a bit of research and who wants to share with you my opinions on a topic and raise awareness for it. With that in mind, I believe I've uncovered a few gems. There are people out there who recognize the power of D&D and tabletop RPGs. In fact, in this study right here, these researchers were specifically trying to find the most significant papers on this topic. And after all of those research papers they collected, I think they looked at about 45 of them in total, and through their kind of screening and filtering process, their parameters are quite specific. They thought that only 13 of them were very conclusive and important. And I'm going to be getting into a good few of them in future videos in this series. I'll explain later. But for now, let me just tell you that what they found was incredible. Not only did they find a study that had set out to determine any potential links between negative behavior and ideation and playing D&D, it concluded that people who played it had less of an inclination towards these behaviors and thinking patterns. It ran completely counter to their hypothesis. Isn't that nice and that good? The first research team also uncovered a bunch of papers showing many major psychological benefits for players of the hobby. Increased empathy, tactical reasoning, creativity, and many more. On top of this research team's findings, I've found a bunch more that explore and prove the effectiveness of tabletop RPGs, like Dungeons & Dragons' effectiveness in improving the mental health of those who play it. There's stuff out there. You just gotta look for it. But who cares? I hear you cry. Aren't tabletop RPGs just for hanging out with friends, having fun, and that's it? Well, that's a huge part of it, isn't it? Sure, I'll grant you that. But it can be so much more. I've always said that D&D, it's more than a hobby. It's an art form. But now I'm convinced that it's something else entirely. Also, I am convinced that it's an invaluable tool that can help us navigate our world. This fantasy can help us in our reality. That's unfathomably important. And I'm going to show you why. Just a quick intermission right now. I know it's an important message, but got some housekeeping to do, okay? Quick shout out to my Patreons who are really helping support the channel and other projects I have going on besides. If you'd like to support the channel, you'll find it down in the description. Also down in the description, link to the HDM Discord server. We got games going on there. Hop on in and meet other people who love to play D&D and talk about how to run the game. And finally, down in the description, you'll find the link to my archetypal NPC handout. Totally free PDF. You click that, sign up for the mailing list, you'll not only get a completely free NPC handout that's getting an incredible update very soon, you'll also get free weekly encounter prompts straight into your inbox. All right, back to the video. I'm gonna start assuming stuff about you now, okay? Based entirely off my YouTube analytics, just what I can see happening in the world, and another metric that I'll reveal in a moment. Here we go, okay, this is gonna be fun, promise. You're in your mid-20s to mid-30s. You're probably feeling pretty lonely. Global cost of living crisis is adding massive amounts of stress to your daily life. You immerse yourself in sci-fi and fantasy to blow off steam and escape from reality. This is a fun one. You feel alienated by the general majority of people and find it difficult to relate to them. It's getting harder and harder for you to find your own home. And because of these factors, you have some brutal heady mixture of anxiety, social anxiety, depression, lack of motivation, and you struggle to be productive. This profile won't fit all of you, but I'd put good money on it fitting the vast majority of those of you watching. Why? Because I've just described my own situation. When I write content, I write to myself, knowing that those who are similar to me will resonate with it. Ooh, also because we are facing similar struggles, because the world is simultaneously both the greatest time in history to be alive and the most brutally spirit-crushing. It's a confusing time to be alive. D&D and other tabletop RPGs like it are important as a form of therapy and mental health support because more than ever, we desperately need it. Therapy is expensive. Just realistically, it's out of reach for most of the people who need it the most. D&D is free with friends or relatively inexpensive if you hire a professional dungeon master. By the way, I've got a rare game slot open, so check the description down below to find my startplaying.games profile to hire me. Now, I'm absolutely not saying that is a replacement for therapy with professional therapists. It's not even close. But it's proven to help. It is a powerful resource and we would be silly not to use it. I'm going to prove it to all of you. And I've realized a fascinating thing. And that's that we can use it to help with almost anything we may be struggling with. You see, while poring over these wonderful research papers and articles, I've realized something incredible, something mind-blowing, something so important that I've decided to not only make this video you're watching now, but an entire series dedicated to raising awareness of the therapeutic effects of tabletop RPGs. Tabletop therapy can be used to help a huge number of mental illnesses, from depression to social anxiety and even loneliness. This is something we probably all suspected deep down, but I'm going to show you exactly how it works. Maybe you're a DM who wants to provide not only a great game for your friends and players, but also a healing environment to help them weather the storm of reality. Maybe you're someone who's looking for another tool that they can use to manage their mental illness. And I'm hoping that some of you want to raise awareness of D&D's power to help people improve their lives and will share this video around. It'll not only help me in this channel, sure, of course it will, but more importantly, it will help spread the message. Get the word out. More people need to know that this game can help them. The world needs to know. Stay tuned for the next episode in the series where we discover how D&D can help overcome social anxiety. That was my main struggle in life for a long long time. If you've watched this video up until now, then you are the DM that I make these videos for. Someone who is truly dedicated to being the best dungeon master they can be. So thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. Please like, crit the subscribe button and notification bell. The topic of this video is why I say this at the end of every video. This world needs good DMs.